Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Renaissance Room podcast. In today's episode, I'm just going to be addressing something that I spoke about on Medium. And I've been making a lot of podcasts lately just because, again, out of storage. And I'm realizing that it's really like an iPhone issue. It took a while for me to recognize that it's not really like an iCloud issue. It's more like an iPhone issue. And so apparently if your iPhone is like 64 gig, that's all it's going to store. And I think when you go over that, yeah, you can buy storage, but I think it's something with the phone. Like I think you can have stuff in your cloud, but it's like, it's something with the phone. You know what I mean? So like basically if you are someone who uses your iPhone like pretty regularly, you really want to make sure you have like enough storage. And also, to sidebar on this, are you Android users? Like, are you guys having the same problems? Because I'm not going to lie, you guys, I've honestly been considering getting an Android. I think that's me getting a little bit older and phasing into my millennial era. Because I don't know, you guys, Apple's kind of like been getting on my nerves. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's kind of been getting on my nerve. I get tired of I just get so drained sometimes with iPhone, like I think it's really just like the storage thing that's kind of been like upsetting. And then it's like you have to be so mindful about the iPhone that you get. Don't get the 64 or the 32, get the 128 and and then you still have to pay for storage. Like, I don't know, you guys. I just kind of feel like with the devices already being like over $1,000, it just kind of comes with too much. I'm tired of the random fees. I'm tired of the random fees. I'm tired of having to really pay for every single thing on top of the subscriptions that they bill us for every single thing. Like, it's just no longer convenient. It just no longer feels like the sleek, convenient thing that I feel like it had marketed itself as back in the day. I still love my MacBook, don't get me wrong, but even that is kind of been like upsetting me, in terms of storage. So I don't know. I just kind of feel like, you get you a nice hearty Dell desktop, get you a nice Dell and you just don't have these problems, So that's kind of like my little rant on iPhone and Apple and just kind of where I am with them. I don't know. It's like if you don't have the most latest and the greatest, which is coming out every 2 months, right? Every 30 days, then it's like you're paying an arm and a leg. And I just kind of feel like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that your iPhone 4 should still be working, but I mean, why isn't it though? Because it was $9.98 back then though. You know what I mean? You finally paid it off, you finally paid off your iPhone 4. Why is it not working? I don't know. So I just kind of feel some type of way. I'm not going to lie. But that's just my rant on Apple. So if you have an Android, let me know in the comments. What is it giving for you guys? What do you like about it? Tell me all the perks because I'm totally considering getting me one of those really sleek, cute Galaxies or something like that. Back in the day, I just thought Galaxy was so ugly. But now, again, as I'm getting older, I need convenience. I don't have time to be shuffling around trying to manage storage and freaking troubleshooting when I'm just trying to put my grocery list in my notes tab. I don't have time to be deleting podcast episodes that I never freaking downloaded, okay, because I don't have any storage on this freaking phone, right? That's like $1,000 on my $1,000 device. I just don't have the time. I don't have the time, okay? I just don't have it. I don't have the time. And so anyway, that's my rant. But I was coming on today to kind of talk about something that takes place when we reach a level of success as African American people. Now, granted, this perspective, this insight that I'm sharing is a bit of an observation, but I also think it comes from a misinterpretation of the most recent video of Tabitha Brown. I did share some previous, I think I did do a video of Tabitha before. She was kind of in the news and y'all just was not really, y'all was really giving it to her. Y'all weren't really feeling her. And it was her take on Target. And in hindsight, at first I was like, why are we ganging up on Tab? But now I kind of see though, because it's well, it was such a big monumental moment for African American people and boycotting Target and everything like that. And I felt like it was something we were doing collectively. And it was just more of a cultural thing. And I felt like she did have the influence in the platform and she just was kind of no, not me, and I think that was kind of telling. I'm not going to lie. Now, granted, I don't think that, you know how I feel about this, right? I'm never here for encouraging Black people to necessarily lose their bag at the expense of advocacy. And the reason why I say that is because I just think from historical standpoint, so many people have lost their bag, their career, right? Their livelihood, their lives, all right, on behalf of this movement. And I just don't know if I just don't know if that is the type of momentum, the type of messaging, and the type of course, like, I just think we need a little course correct. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's effective, because if, as African-American people, without a vehicle, there is no change anyway. Like, you need a vehicle, you know what I mean? So I'm not necessarily here for that. I just think so many people have lost their livelihoods doing that prior. And I just don't feel like I just no longer think it's effective. So yeah, in hindsight, I can totally see why people were mad at Tabitha Brown for like her whole thing with Target. Now today, Tab is back again, and she just kind of shared, you're burning bridges. You don't have the money to do the entrepreneurship thing. And I think it's more so like the spirit and the intention behind something, right? Sometimes as Black people, and I don't want to say Black people because it's not really a Black thing. I think it's more so like an ego thing, right? Sometimes when you are so comfortable in your life, right? Like, you've got stability, you've got like fresh cottage cheese, and you got your breads in the morning, your good sourdough, your Greek yogurt, your vegan juice or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you're healthy, you're well, sometimes the environment around you changes, right? And even in that restoration process, in having your needs met, in being, really submerged in comfort, right? Like material comfort, right? Nutritional comfort. You start to kind of forget like the people who are really lifting you up. And I said it was a Black thing because I just think when it comes to African Americans, we have this attitude with success. And it's in this girl on Medium, this writer I was speaking to, referenced this as a bad spirit. But there's really something about African Americans who get in position, right? Who then begin to look down on the other African Americans, right? Failing to realize that it is those same African Americans, right, who are uplifting them. Now, I know Tabitha Brown brands herself as Aunt Jemima, modern day Aunt Jemima, right? Like she really does brand herself as America's mom. That has different meanings for different people. But in all of that, right? Tabitha is palatable, yes, right? For marketing, that means that she has the ability to connect with different races and go against the bylines. And, so it's not to say that she's weak. It's not to say that she's, she's an uncle. Like, I'm not saying any of those things. But what I'm implying is that she does have the ability to reach a broader audience, right? However, many people from all cultures fail to realize that your success and popularity comes from people who look like you, right? And for the vast majority of African Americans, we have this sort of like pedestalization of our celebrities as our role models, as our influencers, as our, our idols. Reason being, because many of us are still at the bottom, right? And so when we make it, it's like, wow, the glamour of this person, right? We really, really cling to these people because it's just a scarcity thing, right? Like, we don't really have too many people within our orbit, within our circle, within our lives who are healthy, who are prosperous, and so forth. And so you get these celebrities, and they really become really prized in our community. They really represent much of what many of us, unfortunately, could not do, right? I talk to you guys about this all the time, in my own life, right? The lamentations, right? Of the grief, of the dreams deferred, of recognizing that much of what I had dreamt and the things that I wanted to do and my abilities and so forth were handicapped, not by, not out of a lack of ability or a lack of capability, rather, but a lack of access, a lack of resources, a lack of support, and I think the thing about being an African-American person who is not necessarily just impoverished, but maybe is just disenfranchised in terms of like success and upward mobility and opportunities and things like that, is everybody who comes in your community, right? Every Black person who says, I'm going to build a Black grocery store. I'm going to be the spokesperson for this, or I'm going to be the councilman for that. They talk at you, right? They talk at you. They don't walk with you. They don't come into the community and ask, hey, what do y'all really need? need? What do y'all really want to see, right? They don't, go about marketing and say, hey, meet at City Hall at this time, right? We're going to address these issues. Come down. Let's, it's not that type of thing, right? And so much of what you have is projection, and they just project and they say, this is what they want. I know poor people. I know what it's like. When the reality is that for African Americans, again, we don't exist in a vacuum, right? We're not monolithic. We're people at the end of the day, just like white people, just like anybody else, just like other people who are also impoverished, other, minorities, other persons who, are struggling with like all the different things that just make up for American society, the perversion, you know what I mean? Like, we are not just this monolithic persons who are dysfunctional and disfranchised, right? It's an American thing. It's poverty. It's a global thing, right? And so anyway, you have these people, they come into the community and they talk at you. And that's kind of what Tabitha did in this video. So, she kind of backpedals and she kind of just wants to kind of elaborate. But the missing link in all of that, right, where it's not really connected for her. And this is one of the things too about being an African-American person who is then prized and put on a pedestal and then kind of shifted out of your communities, and you're really giving comfort and a level of privilege that many African-Americans have not experienced and will not experience, right? So I say all that to say you're no longer relatable, right? Like, we have these conversations and it's always the attitude of like, oh, y'all just being a hater. Well, it's not really being a hater. It's the fact that you're in a completely different environment. But guess what? Right? Guess what? The people who are keeping you afloat, the people who are buying your products, the things that are keeping the checks coming in, those are the Black people those are the people you're standing on. Those are the people who are uplifting you. Those are the people who are keeping you relevant, who are watching your videos, who are pouring into your businesses, right? I gave the example of Taylor Swift. Like, Taylor Swift is not famous and wealthy and rich and all these different things, right? Because of Black people. You see what I'm saying? And for some odd reason, I just think for African Americans, it doesn't connect. It does not click for us that at the end of the day, you are in position because of the Black people that you're standing on. And many of those Black people are what? They are the quote unquote degenerates, right? They are the single mothers. They are the divorced women. They are the women with, who are doing this and working these jobs. They are the janitors. They are the carpenters. They are the entrepreneurs. They are some of them are unemployed. Some of them are in poverty. You see what I'm saying? And so it's like there's this huge disconnect that happens. And I really appreciated how the writer I was speaking to on Medium kind of addressed it as a bad spirit, because it is. There's something that comes over us when we get in position and we want to be lord over Black people. You know what I mean? Like, we want to be the one to call the shots. We want to be the one to tell you what's up, what ain't up, And so when Tabitha kind of comes online and she kind of makes this a bit of a mockery, especially when you start thinking about where we are today, right? From an economic standpoint, I personally believe that we are addressing, or if not approaching, or rather living in a recession. Some economists may say different. I think that definitely depends on race, right? That absolutely depends on the class, right? Children at the public schools are sleeping in their cars with their family, right? I just seen it on the news. You know what I mean? They've got 12 families that are sleeping in their cars, and the children are literally sleeping in their cars and having to go to school right after that, right? This is not a matter of poor money management. No, we're living in a day and age where you can have 2 or 3 jobs and still not be given equitable health care, you see what I'm saying? That's a problem, right? Because here's the thing, right? America is supposed to be a land of opportunity, right? So if it's really based on meritocracy, if it's really based on hard work and all these different things, you should be able to work at freaking Best Buy and Wendy's and still have a place to live. Even if it ain't popular, but it should still be clean. Hello, it should still be clean. It should still be a decent place to live. You shouldn't have to live with mold and rats, and that's crazy to me, right? And so the thing about a lot of these Black celebrities and influencers is that you can get so high up, you're out of touch with reality, right? Tabitha forgets that, girl, you were the Uber driver who was trying to make it. And the thing about her story, and she's acknowledging that in the video, and she's like, listen, I came from that, and I'm just talking about people who aren't working. And don't get me wrong, that is very valid. But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. When you are a person of privilege, you got to be careful what you say, right? You got to be careful what you say. And this is the thing that people don't want, right? We want the fame, but we don't want the responsibility. Because here's the thing about fame. Here's the thing about Black people putting you on a pedestal and made you famous, right? Because let's talk about it. Tabitha Brown is not famous because white women support her. She's famous and doing what she's doing because Black women support her, because Black people, right, African-American people support her. Every African-American person that is successful and famous and rich and wealthy within this society has their wealth because of the Black dollar. You know, you want to keep talking about respect the Black dollar. No, y'all need to respect the Black dollar because you don't. All right. So you understand that. You see what I'm saying? Understand that. And so with Tabitha and with so many other creators, right? I know Jackie Aina is another one. They want the fame, they want the glamour, they want the claps, the clicks, and all these different things, but they don't want the responsibility. And the responsibility is self-control. Sorry. You don't get to just come out and say what you want to say and have an opinion about poor people and all these different things when it's no longer your reality. And although it was your reality at some point, guess what? You're so far removed from that. It doesn't resonate with you anymore. So guess what? That's not your lane. You no longer get the privilege of speaking on poor people and speaking on what people need to do with their lives and their situations, you know, because that's the thing about fame. You become the person who's in the glass box, right? You don't get like, that's the price of fame. And that's why, you know, we work so hard and we want to try to spiritualize it and we want to say all these things, but it's like, recognize what you're doing though. You're levitating off the ground. Right. So like you're no longer here with us. You know what I mean? Call it an idol, call it whatever you want to call it. Right. But you're no longer here on the ground. So guess what? You can't speak to us. You're so high up. That's why your message is not resonating. Call it spiritual. Call it whatever you want to call it. You know, hey, I'm not here to get into the metaphysics, but I'm poetic. I know what's going on there. I know the energy behind the video, even if your intentions aren't necessarily to be harmful. Right. You are the same person who was in that vehicle. Quite literally and figurative. Like you were there. You know what I mean? Like you were there building a brand, trying to make a better life for yourself. You see what I'm saying? And so to say, hey, listen, for some of y'all, it ain't working. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But why are you the one to say that, though? When you have the resources, you have the things, you know, not even necessarily to give somebody money, because it's not about a handout, but it's about you being in a position to anybody who's around you trying to do something. Hey, I don't know. And I can't say what that's like because I'm not coming from the standpoint of like, you need to help the people around you. But what I am saying is that you're a person of privilege. Why is this even something that you, out of all people, feel the need to come online and say? You know, so I don't think it's a matter of Black people always being offended about anything. I think it's the lack of respect. That's what it is. And you guys don't recognize it, but this does not happen with any other. I don't know. Actually, we're not going to take that. I'm not taking that lane. We're not going down the avenue. The way we treat Black people communally, environmentally, you know what I mean? Like collectively as a society, it's always disrespect and disregard. So that's really the problem with that. It was the tone, right? And being that was your background, keep doing your positivity videos. Keep talking about what was true for you. You know, like I think that there are some things that just don't need to be spoken because it's already understood. It's already understood that if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, it's not for everybody, right? But guess what? You made it, right? So that's not even your story. So why are you telling other people that they can't make it when you made it? See, me, I'm gonna tell you, listen, all right now, y'all, we might have to get back to work. This podcast ain't paying these bills. You know what I mean? Like the writing, I don't know. We're going to do what we're going to do, but this comes first, right? Like that's my story. Your story is I was an Uber driver and I made it happen. So this is also the other thing too. And I want people to understand this when you talk about privilege, right? Understand that people have certain benefits when it comes to success, right? And when I say benefits, I mean, people have had vehicles, meaning supporters, right? For example, with Tabitha Brown, she's had her husband. And I know, you know, we kind of live in a culture where it's like F men are this and men are that. I'm telling you right now, if you have a good husband, if you have a good partner, life is easier for you, period. And that's not to say you deserve to get beat up or slashed or you don't get to have a say or we need to be haters. No. It's just to say that sometimes we don't recognize the support that we have. You know what I mean? Sometimes we don't recognize the things that have helped us get to where we are. You know what I mean? Sometimes we just can't see our privilege, and that's where we miss it as African American people, especially when we start getting on the pedestal. We want to represent Black people. We want to come on like we're all, in this place, like we're dapped up and we're all, in this collective place together. But the reality is that like, it ain't a matter of not being kinfolk. It's just a matter of everybody don't walk the same path. And you have to understand that. That's why it's like, we put these people on a pedestal, but understand they not representing you. They're not your hero, right? You know why they're not your hero? Because we're all coming from different walks of life, A lot of people talked about Tabitha and her just being, the Southern charm. And I know living in the South, we've had conversations on this YouTube channel about the Southern hospitality, having community, not necessarily being, I'm going to be honest, being up north where you have a lot of I'm not even going to say just up north because I've not really been down south, but it's one thing to be around Black people who have an awareness of Blackness, of African American history, of who they are. It's another thing to be surrounded around a bunch of African Americans where not only are we all economically and opportunistically disenfranchised, but we're also, in a space where we hate each other. We don't hate one another. We hate ourselves, right? Have you ever been surrounded around a bunch of Black people who hate themselves, men and women? Do you know how hard it is to climb yourself out of these environments, right? We kind of just chalk it up to the crab in the bucket. Well, no, it's not a crab in the bucket. It's like you're just in a very broken environment. There's no water. You see what I'm saying? Like people are thirsty, right? Like they're thirsty for the living. There's no water. Do you hear what I'm saying? Like really hear me. I'm speaking in a freaking parable, bro, because I'm being real with you guys. And so that's just kind of where we are. Tabitha Brown has definitely missed it. And I think what's really unfortunate is that because sometimes we lack the articulation. Notice how I didn't say the awareness. Notice how I didn't say the education. We sometimes lack the articulation. We don't always know why this person's message didn't land. We don't always know why Tabitha Brown can be the America's mom and she could be the sweetest buttercup in 1 minute and the next minute now she on a whole nother wave. Like we don't always have the articulation to say what is taking place here, but the individual, the psychology, the environment, these things can change you. And it's not a bad thing. But the thing about Black people and their success is that it changes you, but the people who supported you haven't changed. You see what I'm saying? Like, for example, with Jackie Ina, she wants to kind of get on here and whoop-de-whoop. Listen, the girls that are still supporting you, because she's older. Let's be real here. She's older, right? I know we're kind of big on ageism, and that's no shade. I'm just being real. Why I don't even know I have to even backpedal that. Why are we doing that today? What's up with that with women and the whole ageism thing? Like, okay, if you my grandma said you an old broad, you an old broad. We all gonna be old eventually. That was me being shady. But no, seriously though, what's up with that? What is that? Why are we doing that today? Oh, we're so sensitive around age. Like, so what? If you're 43, you're 43. You're 36, you're 36. Your birth certificate don't lie. What difference does it make? Anyway, with Jackie Ina, Jackie has obviously amassed great success, right? There was a point where she was on the floor doing L'Oreal with makeup from Walgreens, and now Jackie is unboxing Hermes, right? And to be so combative with your audiences when people kind of start to tell you how your content is shifted, how you're not really able to relate to them anymore. We love to try to say, y'all are just haters. People don't want to see you happy. Okay, so who do want to see you happy? Who wants to see you happy? Black famous people. Who wants to see you happy? Because if Black people don't want to see you happy, then you wouldn't have everything that you have. Because let's talk about it. Like if we didn't want to see you happy, you wouldn't have what you have. Because little white girls, they're not buying your product. They're not watching your videos. I can assure you that. Okay? And if they wanted to see you happy, why are you here in front of our faces? Why are you still on the same platform? Why are you not at the Hampton? Right now, why are you not, somewhere else? Right? Be where you want to be. You see what I'm saying, homegirl? Like, and I'm not just coming from, this is just real. Like, I don't get that with us sometimes. Like, it's like, okay, if we don't want to see you happy, who does? Like, we keep being so argumentative with the people that support us, right? You get these people on these pedestals, you build them up, you support their brand, you buy their products, right? And it's like you get all this drama from them, all this flack, all this da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, okay, if we don't want to see you happy, who does? If there is somebody else who wants to go see you happy, go sit at their table. Oh, it's not a seat over there for you. Oh, okay, gotcha. So here you come. And then you will see they kind of start to backpedal. Well, because they realize you're getting out of pocket, you getting out of sight, you getting beside yourself, right? That's the thing about Black people. And I think that's just probably one of the things that is so disorienting about being within American society is like, you know, you might not be where you was, but you ain't gonna be getting over there either. You know what I mean? So you're kind of like, you have to walk that middle. So you got to be careful what you say. You got to be careful what you say. Okay? Tab too old for that. She know better. Come on, girl. What are you doing? And this is another thing. Like, where's the wisdom? What are we doing? You know, sometimes we just cut our camera on and we just want to, and you could tell too with that situation, that sounded very personal. You know, she might have had somebody in her life. She kind of wanted to address that. So I don't even think that her intentions probably weren't even to just, you know, but as podcasters, as content creators, sometimes if you are somebody who's like a spokesperson and your content centers around commentary, if, you know, and it centers around insight or enlightenment or any type of like revelation, right? Revelatory type of content, you could easily find yourself sharing and essentially oversharing and offending people. You know what I mean? When you're really just kind of talking about your cousin who, you know, won't get a job and she's keep asking you for money and she's trying to start this lip gloss business, but you call her today, she says she ain't do nothing, you know, like, so it's just a matter of like wisdom and discernment. I don't always think that people need such scrutiny for the mistakes that they make. Like, we're all human at the end of the day, but I got to be honest, you know, that price of fame, that price of influence, you got to count the cost. And the cost is you don't get to be regular degular. You don't get to get online and say what you want to say. You don't get to be as expressive, right? And that's the price you pay, right? That's the price you pay, period. And the thing is, if you don't like it, what they say, shut up and get off the pot. Shut up and get off the pot. But stop whining and backpedaling to the people that you're offending and the people that you're failing to address. And like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not here to save you. You wanted to be up there. Now you're up there. You see what I'm saying? You're standing on our shoulders because, again, we're the ones buying the products. We're watching the videos. We're keeping your name alive. Respect the Black dollar. Respect Black people. Peace.